putting a
Okay.
with the
All right. So now that I'm giving information, I'm going to start recording because I forgot almost to start recording. Sorry about that for everybody else. So we are talking about choosing a deck and what's the difference between tarot cards and oracle cards. So the difference between them is that tarot cards, and this is the Rider-Waite deck is the original standard that tarot cards are based on. And then I'll give you some more information. And what I was getting ready to say too is that I'm going to do a whole class. So I'm using Zoom right now, and this is our first time to do the Zoom class. And I want to make sure that I can record it. And how do I figure out how to keep the recording and post it online or whatever? So I appreciate you all being my guinea pigs for that. But I am going to do a dedicated class to give the history of tarot cards and like go in depth into what is the structure and why they are the way they are. So that's a whole class in itself. And today our focus is on pulling cards. So I want us to have, do more practical stuff today versus info stuff. So that's why it's a good one to record as a test, because the ones that are heavy on information, I want to make sure that I know what I'm doing before I do that, so we don't lose the information. All right, so the difference between the oracle cards and tarot deck, I'm sorry if I bug people because sometimes I say tarot and sometimes I say tarot, but honestly, it's because it comes from my teachers. And I think it's kind of like tomato, right? Like wherever you live, that's how you say it. And I just find that both come out of my mouth and I don't know which one's the right one. So it doesn't bother me. I hope it doesn't bother you too bad. But the structure of the cards is the structure is there's, and I might say the wrong number, but there's 78 cards in a deck. There's 4 decks that are maybe it's 76. Okay, never mind. So whatever. The point is there's just like playing cards, right? And that's what it was based on originally. Playing cards were used for divination. So there's the 4 suits. There's always going to be 4 suits and 52 cards, including, the court cards. That's the what would have been, the jack, the king, the queen, the ace, right? So not the ace, I guess it would be the 10 jack, king, queen would be like your court cards or whatever. There's 4 that are court cards in each of the suits. And then the other is from ace to 10. So that's in all 4 suits. And then that's called the minor arcana, which is kind of like every day. It's like day-to-day life. And then the other part of the deck, the remaining cards, are the major arcana. And the major arcana tells a story from beginning to end, beginning with the Fool. So that's like, and all of it's an analogy. So in the beginning, the Fool, it's like when you're clueless. Like you start off on a new venture and you're just so stupid happy about it and everything's la, la, la. And like, you don't know what you're getting into, but you're excited and everything's new and amazing and fun. So that's the Fool. That's a 0 card. And it goes all the way to the World, which is think about it, you're given the world, like you've done everything. You've been on your entire life path and now everything is amazing and complete, right? And then along the way, you have your ups and your downs and, the trials and tribulations and the great successes. So it's that whole story of being on the journey. So when you get a major arcana card, then that's kind of more like once kind of an event. Instead of like things that are happening in your everyday life, it's like some event is going to happen that's going to be a shift in things. So it could be a major life change, but it's going to be some kind of shift that's away from how the everyday kind of goes. So I just say that to give you some context for when you're pulling your cards. You know, a major arcana card is kind of like something big is going to happen. And any of the suits, which the suits will vary based on what your deck is. But the 4 suits always represent the elements. So there's fire, air, water, and earth. And they may be called that. Like I have a fairy deck where they're actually called that. And then I've got another fairy deck that they're like related to the seasons. So they're related to the seasons. I've got another one where they're related to 4 archangels. And but in traditional, they're related to coins or pentacles, which, you know, are the star inside a circle. So that would be earth. Swords are air. Let's find another one. Oh, I've got lots of major arcana cards coming up here. Wands are fire, and they're sticks. And cups are water. So those are the things to keep in mind. If you have some other deck besides the one that I'm working with, and you're trying to map it onto which one yours is, you should have, if you can relate it to one of those main things or one of the elements, then you'll know. You can always look up the same card. So for example, in my, let's see, in my Archangel Power cards, they're named after archangels. So if I get the 2 of Wands in this deck, that would be the same as getting a 2 of Gabriel in this deck. So if you know that, and you're still trying to learn your, you know, what do the cards mean, and you're not finding, because sometimes the book, like, I don't know, the book that came with the Rider-Waite deck, it's this tiny little pamphlet. It has almost nothing in it. It has a couple of paragraphs about each card, and then like a list of traits, you know, like positive and negative traits. And so it's not very helpful. So then I have, oh, it's like way over there, but I've got bigger books like this. I've got one that's specific to this. The one that I have that's specific to this, it's in the picture that's on the group chat. And the one that's specific to this, it takes each and every little element that is in the picture, and it tells you what it symbolizes. So as you're picking your cards, the first and foremost thing that I want you to take away from in this group, I called it Building Intuition with Tarot for a reason. And that is, what occurs for you is way more important than what the book says. If you look at a card and the thing that you see in there is, oh my gosh, this guy's holding a candle, and that's the thing that stands out to you. And you're like, you know, I remember in the Christmas pageant last year, this guy was holding a candle up just like this. And it could be that when that comes to your mind, that event is the thing that you're supposed to get from this card. It's not always whatever the book says about it. So this is why it's like, think about the book as a guideline to help spur some thoughts for you as you read the description. Like, is there an area of your life that maps onto, or is there something that you're dealing with, or some thoughts that you have noticed that you've been having that coincide or kind of run parallel to the description that you're reading about the card. And then when you're writing in your journal, then those are the things that you want to write about in your reflection, because it's more about what it means to you than what's the right interpretation. And especially as you build your familiarity with the cards and you learn to trust your intuition. So as you get more comfortable with it, I don't know, has anybody been brave enough to try to do a reading for anybody else yet? No.
No.
That's okay.
No way.
That's okay. That's okay. But eventually you will feel that this is why. This is like the beginning steps to that, because it's your interpretation. What does it mean for you? So if you're doing a reading for somebody else, it would translate the same way. Two different people could look at the card two different ways. It doesn't matter about that so much as what's the message coming through, because if you are working with higher beings, they know you, like they know what your thought process is about things. So they're going to give you the card that's going to help you have the thought that moves you in the right direction, if that makes sense. And when I say higher beings, it's not necessarily other beings. It might just be your higher self, but it can also be your spirit guides. It could also be your angels. So trust your intuition. But Sandra spoke about this because we were, for those of you who are on the recording and missed a few minutes of the discussion because I forgot to hit record. But Sandra got a new set of cards today. So in the live on the group, I talked about in one of the lives about how do you prepare cards to work with them. So when you do that, you want to clear those cards, because everything has its own energy. Everything and everything is susceptible to the energy around it. So we've talked as a group about some of us feel that energy more than others. Like, you might be feeling kind of icky one day, but you don't know why you're feeling icky. And it turns out that your neighbors were up fighting all night, but you didn't know that. You just know you woke up feeling icky and you think that it has something to do with you, but it really doesn't. Well, everything is that way. So your cards, think about, the box was, first there was all the machines that it was on, and then finally it's in a box, and then the box gets handled and gets put into another box, and then that box goes off and gets handled by some other people who move it around in a warehouse, and then it gets moved into a truck, and then a truck takes it to another warehouse. And how many times has it been touched by how many people before it even got to you? And it could have picked up any of and all of the residual energy in all those places. So by clearing the deck, sending it light, putting it in the sun, imagining you're cutting the cords from it. If you are Reiki attuned, you can give it Reiki. There's like so many things. You could take incense or sage and sage the box before you even open it. You can do the same with your cards themselves. So cleaning it energetically, and then setting the intention that the cards are going to be used for only your good. So if you are religious or if you have some other spiritual practice, or even if you don't, you can hold it in front of your heart and just imagine that, your hands and your heart are sending it light and are going to clear it, and it's only going to be used for your good. If you want to say a prayer of protection or ask your angels to protect it, saying, and I recommend saying it out loud, but I would say something like, to my angels, spirit guides, and other helpers and enlightened beings, I ask that this deck only be used for my good and in alignment with the will of God for my life purpose. In the name of Jesus the Christ, amen. That's what I would say. And then that way, that now they're sealed and protected. And at the end, I've set the intention that these cards are going to be used to help me have messages that are for my good. So that's the hopefully short version of how you prepare your cards and you get ready to work with them. So what we were going to do today is work from our journals. So I know not everybody has this journal. So if you don't have this journal, I want, and you have questions about anything, type it in the chat or send me a message if you're watching the recording. And I'll be happy to help because I want to make sure if you're using your own journal that you have all the information that you need to follow along with the exercises that we're doing. So before I do this, let me check in with everybody who's on the call. So those of you who are on the call, do you have this journal or are you working in another journal? And if you would just give a quick introduction so everybody gets your name and say hi and tell us about the deck that you have or that you're working with or that you plan to be working with and the journal that you're working with. And if you've been playing around with your cards or your journal or, so just kind of give us a little update of where you're at and how things are going so far, where you're at in the process. And I'm going to pick on Sandra to start because she's my bestie and I get to do that.
Big surprise. Yes, I am using that journal. And so the cards that I'm planning on using are that the is it Rider-Waite?
Mm-hmm.
That's what I'm planning on using, but I forgot those. I'm at my boyfriend's, and so I got a new deck today. The
Yay.
Angel Tarot. They're really pretty, but yeah, they're pretty cool. So, and I'm like brand new to this, so I've got no clue because I think Angela decided to do this class because she got tired of me asking questions about.
It might have influenced me just a little bit. Maybe just a little bit.
So that's what it is. And what else? She's also getting tired of me talking about that I live in Southern California and our weather's nice right now. So tough. Too bad.
Well, when the COVID thing settles down, I'll be back.
Yes, you will. You will absolutely be back. Okay.
And what's
but I used to live in Louisville, Kentucky. So that's the connection.
Yeah.
Angela.
Have you been doing like the daily readings or, have you been using the journal so far? What's been your experience with the journal so far?
I did the kind of the January priorities and looking forward to that monthly goals. I did that.
Okay.
And then I did pull cards for January.
Cool.
And I tried to figure out from looking at the pictures, and I was just like, you know me, I'm in my head first and foremost. So to get me out of my head is the challenge. So that's why I'm taking this class.
Okay, cool. Thank you very much for sharing. All right, I'm going to pick on Jamie next.
Hi.
Hi, Jamie.
I'm Jamie. And I do currently live in Louisville, Kentucky. So yeah, our weather isn't as nice, but can we all come to your house in California? Road trip. So I do have the journal. I just got that. So I've only been working with it for about a week because I've been gone. I've got I can't do this. Where's my camera? The Gilded Tarot.
Oh, cool.
And it came with a whole easy tarot because I'm a newbie.
Oh, good.
So I've read the book. It's got some good charts, some good ideas. It tells you
like different spreads and stuff like that.
Yeah. And she is very much also about the intuition, thinking about it from yourself, and that this is just a guide.
Mhm.
And the cards are really beautiful.
Cool. Can
Again,
we
I
see a
get
few of them? Yeah.
if I can figure out where's good in the.
Oh yeah. Oh, this is pretty.
Yeah, so it's sort of like a Renaissance kind of a look to it. So I'm
Yeah.
enjoying them very much.
Cool. Thank you very much
So
for sharing.
yeah, I did the January pull and then just the last couple of days for this week.
Okay. Cool. Thank you so much, Jamie. Darby, are you there?
I am here,
Okay.
and I'm brand spanking new to this. And well, I shouldn't say it like that. I have several tarot decks because just like you always like you buy a new purse, or like back when I used to wear lipstick, now I work from home, so I hardly know what I ever wear. Yet I'd always be like, oh, this will be the perfect color that will just go with everything and look great on me.
Right.
And of course, it would always lead me to my next, oh, this is the perfect color. And so we know that saga. That's me with the decks. I'm like, this will be the deck that I can learn tarot from. And so I immediately signed up for the course. Once Angelique shared it to me. I'd already had ordered the planner, and I shared that with her. So then it was. She's also in this class with us, but she's out of town right now. Oh, by the way, I'm also in Lawrence, Kansas. So I don't have any of these Kentucky ties. I guess I'm the odd one.
No, that's awesome.
That's okay.
Yeah.
What I was saying. Oh, I'm using the Smith. I never know how to say it. Smith White Rider Raid deck. It's the same one that you have, Angela,
Okay.
but mine is borderless.
Okay. Cool.
So I decided, like I said, I have all these a little collection going on here. I decided to use this deck from the readings. Not readings like reading cards, but the what I've read about the tarot. They always go back to this deck as the original.
Is it this one?
That gave birth to the tarot. No, the one I have?
Yeah.
No, it's just like yours, but without the border around the cards.
Okay.
It's a Rider-Waite deck without a border. It's got that big writing at the bottom.
Okay.
And the pictures are kind of old looking. I mean, not old, but
yeah, they are. They are old looking, sure.
they're kind of I don't know, but like maybe back when people drew pictures with stick people, they're kind of. That didn't make any sense either. Anyways, I'll show you. I'll show you the deck later.
This one.
But, yes, there you go. That's it.
Okay. Cool.
Okay, you were on a mission.
I love cards. I got to know what everybody's using.
Oh, yes. Yep. Well, you found it. So, I chose this deck because everything I've read always goes back to this deck. And no matter what they're talking about, somewhere they reference this deck. And I thought, okay, I'm getting to use that deck. I'm going to learn with that deck. And so then when I go and use angel cards or animal cards or, whatever cards, color chakra cards, whatever, I will know that, okay, in the fire suit, this always, this can reflect blah, 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 blah. And then it'll be easier. This is my thinking. It'll be easier for me to map on like the suits of the elements to the suits of the angels or the suits of the archangels or the, whatever theme another deck is built around.
Yes. And I will tell you that I believe is exactly what will happen, because it's been my experience, except my experience is backwards because I started with the angel deck. And so I always have to translate from there first. I'm like, oh yeah, if I were looking at that deck, this is what would be on that picture.
Yeah.
And this is how I would this is what I would make that mean. So yeah, I totally agree with you that
And-
learning from this one first makes more sense because of that.
Well, and that was part of what I had to recognize with my blockage in learning the tarot, is because I kept finding these fun decks that really called or yelled out to me. And so of course I purchased them right up, only to find out that they didn't make any sense from anything I had, any kind of knowledge I had gathered. It always went back to this deck. And so I was like, so it's like what you resist persists. So I was like, I give up. I'll go with it.
Awesome.
And then about the journal, I've been waiting for tonight for when we got together to get started. So I am brand spanking new all the way along.
Okay. Awesome. Well, now that you've cracked the binding, you can get started and go through and do some of the other things too. And I think I did a live, right? Didn't I, for the January thing?
Yeah,
So,
yes, you did.
Okay. So yeah, so go back and have a look at that if you like. And
yeah, I took notes and I've been doing that. And
awesome.
I never
will
knew
say one thing, although I'll get into this more later, but one thing to note, if you are thinking about the translation from one deck to another, at some point, 8 and 11 got switched in some decks. So like the strength card is number 8, but in some decks, the eighth card is the strength card is number 11. So 8 and 11 for interest, it's interesting. But anyways, we'll get into that when we do history and all that stuff. But just be aware that that's the only one that the numbers would be different from the major arcana or from the suits. That's the only one that would be different. Otherwise, it would always be that translation could happen as far as what the card stands for, and at least from the higher perspective. All right, well, that leaves you, Mary Susan.
Oh, I'm real quick. Darby's actually light years ahead of me. I have no dice or no deck, and I will get one soon. And my form of journal is Tres Holes Spirales, which is my 3-hole binder.
I love it. Perfect.
I will be upgrading next time you see me.
Okay, cool. Did you find the link to the ritual planner? If you want to use this planner that we is in there. So because
yes,
you can order it online.
So I'm going to be totally on it. I'm having a problem getting mail here, so I have to go get something versus it's a whole thing.
Gotcha.
It's going to not be a whole thing in 3 days.
Awesome. Okay, great. So, well, then I will definitely
You will now, but
as we go through today, then I'll be sure to explain what it is that we're doing. So you have that until you get the thing. All right.
Mary Sue, where are you?
I am right between Reno and Tahoe. I'm at the foot of Mount Rose.
Oh, that
nice.
Sounds really cool.
Supposed to be.
Well,
too. I just left Southern California. I used to be a little bit north of Sandra in Manhattan Beach a couple of weeks ago. Actually, 8 days ago, I was in Manhattan Beach, and now I'm here.
Cool.
Who knows where I'll be?
See, we've got a national group.
Yes.
Awesome. All right. Well, based on everything that you guys have done so far, or that has come up in your process or in your research or in your shopping or whatever? Does anybody have any other burning questions that we haven't addressed so far before we get to today's exercise?
Is there a preference on Oracle or Tarot? What would you say when you start?
Well, as far as like doing readings, you pick anything that applies, right? Like whatever you resonate with, if something's calling to you, that's why I have so many decks, right? Because every one of them has a different energy to it. I do highly recommend that you have some tarot deck though, because no matter which structure, no matter which theme or story or mythology or whatever your tarot deck is based on, they all have that structure that I was talking about with the major arcana, the minor arcana, and the four suits and the court cards and the aces. And so it's going to have that same structure. And that's what I'm going to be teaching about. So you won't want to miss any of that correlation. But also oracle cards are great. They have no structure in common with any other oracle deck. The oracle deck is just based on whatever the developer thought was really cool. So like some of them are 44 cards and some of them are 52 cards or somewhere in between or none of the above. And they're whatever theme that the person wanted. So, basically they're just intuitive people had an idea for a theme or something that from their own work or their own experience, and then they translated that into cards. But there's no commonality other than that in them. So they literally could be anything. And that won't give you access to the structure that we're learning about while we do the tarot. And another thing about the tarot, I forgot to mention when I was talking about the structure, if you're familiar with Kabbalah or the Tree of Life, the major arcana also maps onto the pathways of the Tree of Life, the 22 the 22 paths that are found in the Tree of Life. So for all those reasons, that's why I recommend at least one of your decks is a tarot deck, just so you don't miss out on that learning process as we go through. But for intuitive reading, you don't need anything in particular. Any one of them. If something about a deck calls to you, then that's the energy. That's going to resonate with you and be easy for you to get messages from because it already resonates with you. Thank you. It's a great question. Anybody else? Okay. Well, what I want to do then now is go over our exercise. So this book, now a spread, just to another higher topic, spread just refers to the way that you put the cards on the table, like the pattern that you're using. And most of the journal that we have is 3-card spread for the day, for each day, right? Like, so 1, 2, 3. And in the back of the book, then there's a list of the different 3-card spreads and they're listed, like card 1, card 2, card 3. So a few examples, the most prevalent usually that people think of with the 1, 2, 3 card is past, present, future. And probably the second is situation, action, outcome. But there's lots of them here and there's more online. And then there's whatever you want to make up too. Like you can make your own spread. You can make it whatever you want. So, I've tried to share some of those in the group as well, especially if you don't have the journal, then you can at least see the pictures in there and get some ideas for what kind of spread that you want to do. So if you have a burning question or something that you really feel like you want an answer to, then when you sit down, think about which one of those spreads is going to give you the information that you're looking for, like which one of those best answers your question. and then come at the card then and be thinking that as you're shuffling the cards. And then you could even reinforce it by saying, you know, I'm going to pull the card for the past. I'm going to pull the card for the present. I'm going to pull the card for the future, you know, as you're doing that. So this is the spread for the year and it's even says up at the top, 2021 and year ahead tarot spread. So you can see it's got the 12 months around the outside, and in the center is the energy of the year. So if you want to do this now while we're on the call, then you can do that. And if you want to share, you can do that. But if you also, I understand too, if you want to take more time and do this later. So whatever works for you. If you don't want to, because I'm going to, obviously, I don't want to drag this out for too long, but I want to give you the opportunity to ask questions. So what I would like to do is for us all to do the energy of the year card. And Mary Susan, if you like, I will pick a card for you since you don't have a card deck with you today. And so that being said, I'm going to start shuffling now with the intention that this card I'm going to pull is for Mary Susan, for the energy of the day for Mary Susan. I'm sorry, energy of the year. Energy of the year. I want the energy of the year for Mary Susan. So if you haven't already, you could be shuffling your cards and be doing exactly saying to yourself, and even out loud, like I am, energy of this year for me, right? So I am doing energy of this year for Mary Susan, and just shuffle however long you feel like you need to shuffle. And then I will tell you, there's several, when it comes to shuffling, there's several camps of thought on this. So use your intuition about what works for you. When I'm doing a reading for myself, and because I'm so sensitive to energy and because I've worked with the cards so much, I personally feel like I sometimes might pick the card I want to pick instead of the card that I need to pick. So when I'm doing a shuffling for myself, a lot of times I will shuffle with the intention of I'm not going to pick a card. I'm going to wait until the card falls out. So I'll just keep shuffling until a card pops out, and the card that pops out is my card. Another way that I do it because of that is I will shuffle, then I'll cut the deck, and then I won't pick any other cards. I will just take them in the order that they were in there. So I have no, I personally can't like just go through and pick, oh, I like that one and that one and that one. Other people like to do that. Other people feel drawn to that. And if you watch any YouTubers and watch them do their readings, you'll see all of this. You'll see people who shuffle. And if you're not a shuffler, it could be really boring and really like frustrating to watch them because they're just shuffling for so long before a card finally falls. And then they'll say what the card means. So, you know, again, this is where your intuition, your style, whatever it is that you know makes you feel happy when you're doing yours, that's what you should do. All right, so I am going to get an energy of the year for Mary Susan. Page of Cups, Mary Susan.
Oh, is it running over?
Well, the fact that you are thinking that's possible, then yeah, maybe. So again, this is where your intuition comes out, right? You want to go with, like, if you have a first impression, that's part of the reading. If something happens while you're doing a reading, like a plane flies overhead, or the neighbors start yelling, or a dog starts barking, it's all part of the reading. It's all part of the reading. So, when you set your space and you're doing your reading for yourself, and you've got, your spread and you're laying things out, you might want to get a cloth. A lot of people like to have a special cloth that they lay out, and they only do readings with and do their spreads on that cloth. And that's kind of like the same as if you are a meditator and you always use the same cushion to sit on in the same place. It'll just get imbued with your energy. So that's another way to make it feel more special and sacred, is to use a cloth in your area, and always do that. So what you may not be able to see on here is there is a fish in his cup. It looks like to me, but I will let you look it up and do your research about what it is about the Page of Cups that calls to you, and what it about it when you think about the energy of the year. What does that mean to you for 2021? Okay. Does anybody else want to share what they got?
There's also that my last name is Trout, and there's a fish in the cup.
So it really is overflowing.
Go.
That's pretty amazing. That
Good.
is pretty amazing. I love that.
I got strength.
Oh, wow. There's almost always a lion in the strength card. I love that card.
I know.
This is, as a matter of fact, on the this picture on here, that is the same picture that's on the strength card in this deck.
Cool. Yeah, the strength card. So
Very cool.
But it's feminine too.
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
I love that. Feminine empowerment.
But it looks it feels like compassion, like she's helping the lion.
Oh,
Like
yeah,
she's
yeah,
tending
yeah.
to the lion.
Yeah.
Mm.
And
And of course, it would be different if you had a different deck, right? Because the picture would be different. So the fact that this again is why you have to pick the deck that feels right for you. And again, why I have over 60, because it's just like, I don't know. They talk to me. Like, I'll know if I'm going to do a reading and I've said, okay, I'm going to do a reading and I want it to be for this person or about this situation. Like, I'll know which deck I'm supposed to use to do that reading. So you don't have to have 60, but you might want to have more than one, just because the energy is going to be different. So if something, feels like, oh, that's pretty, or, oh, like it just like feels like it lights up when you look at it, then, there might be a reason why maybe it's got a message for you. So.
Oh, I think I know. I think I know, because
Cool.
I know who the lion is.
Aw, that's awesome. I love that. That's awesome. Great job. Who else wants to share?
I got the Queen of Swords.
Oh, the Queen of Swords.
I've been getting a lot of that particular suit. It's been interesting.
So the swords are air, and air is mental, right? So it's our thoughts and our ideas, and thinking about how ideas swirl around us, right? And she's a ruler, so maybe it has something to do with ruling thoughts or ruling ideas.
Learning about intuition through tarot.
Maybe. maybe a little bit. Maybe learning to command those thoughts, right? Because she's in charge. So very cool. It'll be interesting to see if anything else pops when you do your research on it.
Angela, I think it was interesting when you talked about air being like mental, or sword, and it was mental thoughts and ideas. Would you mind at some point, and it may not be the right time, I don't know, to go over like what wand kind of rules or cups and all
I'll
that
give
kind of
you the short version. Sure. So fire is typically like our Career is usually going to have to do with career, the things to do. It's like being busy, and it is also ideas, like that, you think about like the spark of an idea, but not the mental part of it, but like that original fire. Like when you think about things like having a fire in your belly, right? Like there's a reason that's a saying. So it's fuel, it's energy, where air is mental. It can be being stuck in your thoughts, or being stuck in a fixed way of thinking about something. But it can also be like thinking about things like being able to get organized and like start to make a plan. Like what else do you need to tap into? So a lot of the sword cards, or the air cards, are going to be kind of challenging cards. They're not usually the feel good cards. They're usually a little more challenging, and a little bit more in your face kind of thing. The cups is water. So that's our emotions, that's our relationships, it's love. So it's being in our feelings is typically, and so where fire is often about career, air is can be about like legal matters, or papers, or challenges, and water, the cups are almost always about relationships, especially significant relationships, and love, and romance, and that sort of thing. And then earth is all about physical manifestation. That's why it's sometimes the coins instead of pentacles. But whichever one it is, it's the same thing. It's about manifesting things in the physical. So it's about your home. It's about your possessions. It's about working hard. So that's earth, and being grounded, right? So does that help, Sandra? Does that answer your question?
Yeah, thanks.
Okay. Does anybody have any follow-up questions to that? All right. We didn't hear from Darby yet, did we? What's your energy for the year, Darby?
Oh, I'm here. I was still pulling, or
Okay.
pulling while everybody else shared theirs. So I appreciate that everybody else went ahead of me, except for you. You haven't shared yours yet.
Well, that's because I was shuffling for Mary Susan.
Yeah. So, okay. I pulled my card. I shuffled a lot. I spoke to my higher source, the divine. And I received, I'm sorry, I received the perfect card, I know, but I'm not embracing it. Yeah.
I appreciate you sharing. And if you don't want to tell us what it is, that's okay too.
No, because this is a time of growth, and a time of opportunity to grow. I mean, to be somebody I don't even know I can be. And earlier, anyways, the card is the 10 of Swords. And you may not be able to see the card, but it has a man laying on the beach with 10 swords going through him. So I was thinking after I pulled the card, I was thinking, wait, didn't she say we were supposed to do this only from the major arcana?
Look what was right on my deck. It was the second card on my deck.
That's the card. Yeah, that's wild.
Yeah.
So the reason I Did you hear my remark about didn't you tell us to only pull it from the major
No,
arcana?
I didn't say that.
I know. That was me trying to find a way to skirt around this card.
Mm.
Earlier today, knowing that we were really going to meet tonight, I worked on speaking, having my intuition providing me with 9 seeds that I want to plant, to manifest into 2021. Being that tonight is actually the new moon, and Tuesday was a dark moon. So one of them that came up that I was like, what, where? And all kinds of strange ones came up that I was like, okay. In fact, I even thought about, no, I think I'll just make my own list. And I'm like, oh, ballsy Darby. So I'm sticking with their list. And one of the words that came up was courage. And I thought, well, yeah, courage, because I'm going to overcome those 10 swords in my back, I guess. I mean, not I guess, I know it. I mean, it's just, yeah.
That's so beautiful. That's so beautiful. Now, I know this will be no surprise to Sandra, because these kind of weird things happen to me all the time, because this is my life as a magic person. But I opened up, because I think this might help you a bit, but I opened up this card set, Darby, the Archangel Power Tarot deck, because I wanted to show you what the card looks like in that deck. Because I personally found, whenever I get that card, I find that from this deck, I can handle it a lot better than looking at the 10 swords in the back. And
thank you. Yeah, maybe I need to go get another deck.
So here's what's funny. So like I just opened this up and I flipped the card so I could start looking for it. And I told you that when I looked in this deck, it was the second card from the bottom. In this deck, it was the second card from the bottom.
Oh my God.
So
what is it? I can't.
It's a ballerina taking a bow at the end of a show.
Oh, yeah, that's definitely.
Yeah.
Yes, definitely.
And this is what the words say on it. And this is another reason why I like the angel cards, because they put lots of words, so you don't have to look it up to get some kind of meaning from it. It says, a situation has ended and you are finally free. New opportunities for happiness will now follow. Put the past behind you.
I'm making notes. Thank you.
You're very welcome.
Couldn't that just be for today? Really? Does it have to be for the whole year?
Well, being free of something, wouldn't you want to be free from something for the whole year?
Oh, gosh. Yes. I was thinking that that was going to be my theme, that I was going to but that I would be carrying. I read it backwards. Gotcha. I was thinking I was going to have that until 2022. I wouldn't be free of it, but never mind. Gotcha.
Yeah. So this is where you have
free.
to use your intuition and not just go by the words, right? You have to go by how it feels. So,
yeah,
so if it doesn't feel right to you, then use your intuition, because it not feeling right probably means that that's not the meaning for you. Right. So think about, how else can I think about this? And then, does that answer your question?
Yes,
it does. Says you're finally free. It says that on this card, right? So thinking about it, that every ending leaves space for a new beginning, right?
Yeah.
So, go ahead. Any other questions about that?
I was going to share that when I viewed the card and saw the 10 in his back on the beach, or I'm guessing that's a beach. Anyways, I thought, oh, it's ended. And see, the next thought would be, that means the new is beginning.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Good. See, that's your intuition talking. Listen to it.
Right. You're right. But then when I had to share it with you guys verbally is when all the emotions came up.
Well, sometimes endings are challenging. Most of the time, endings are challenging.
That's true, because you're leaving something,
Mm-hmm.
good or bad.
Yep.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for all of that.
You're very welcome. All right. Does anybody have anything else to add before I share mine as Darby requested? All right. So here's what's funny else too, right? So I picked the card and I didn't pick the card. I took one that fell out from the Rider-Waite deck. But then Darby, remember how I said yours was the second one from the bottom? Guess which one was on, like, very on the bottom? I picked out the cards and it was the same card in that box that was the card that fell out just now. So to me, that's confirmation that yes, that is my card for the year. And my card is number 1, the Magician.
Oh, wow.
And this is what he looks like in this deck. So the Magician is my card for the year. And I guess I have to claim it now. Oh, okay. So what I would recommend for the rest of this, as the spread shows, right? You're going to draw your picture or write the name or however you want to depict your energy of the year card. It goes in the center. And then you're going to start at the top in the number 12 spot, and you're going to work clockwise around and do a spread for the whole year. What I would recommend when you're doing a spread is you do all the cards first so that you have the entire spread to look at, then start looking at the book. Because before you look at the book, when you can see all the cards in front of you, you're going to get a different impression than if you're looking at the cards one at a time. Because a lot of times the interpretation of a card is going to be based on the card that's next to it. And you'll see that as you start to look at these deeper meanings. Like I've got 1, 2, 3, 4. I've got 4 different tarot books that say, here's what the cards mean. So each one of them is slightly different. I mean, overarchingly, they might be the same, but sometimes there's like optional or additional. It could also mean this. Like sometimes they can be really specific. Like in one deck, it'll say things like can also mean heart trouble, can also mean that you're going to travel, like has nothing to do with all the other things that are listed there or that you would see across all the decks. So for that reason, that's why I say before, and I think I put this in the, like just as a post by itself, before you look at the book, look at the cards. What are your first impressions? Like, what are you feeling about them? Is there any picture that stands out to you first? Or is there something that you feel like when you see the picture, it makes you happy? Is there one that like you're just kind of like, oh, I don't know if I like that one, you know? So all of those things, like kind of take stock of that first and just like be with it, meditate on it, give it a few minutes to kind of like just settle before you start to look up what does the book say. Because your first impressions, if you look at it and you say, well, I think this means this, I think this is talking about that, just from the pictures, you're already way far ahead of most people, because most people won't allow themselves to do that. Most people think, I'm not going to get it right, so I have to look it up and I have to go by what the book says. So use this opportunity to start practicing trusting yourself and trusting your intuitions and trusting those first responses that you have, because that first reaction is coming from somewhere. And likely there's a message in that for you from your higher self. So that's way more important than what the book says about any of them. So start to practice that and play with that, and maybe even write notes about that before you look at to see what does the book say. And even if the book says something totally different, if you have a good reason, and a good reason is just your reason, honestly, it's not because somebody said so. The good reason is your intuition told you that, then maybe that's it. Because I've done readings for people before, and a card would come out and there's something in the picture that jumps out at me. And so no matter what I know that card is supposed to mean, I've just focused on the thing in the picture. And when you're doing a reading for other people and you're using these cards that have all the words on it, it's hard to help them understand. Like I have to say, I know what it says here at the bottom, but that's not the message that's coming through for me about this card. And I would say, this is the thing that's going on with you in this card. And that was the message that they needed to hear. So that, know that it's not just you, like that is just how it is when you're doing intuitive reading. So trust yourself, trust your thoughts, your feelings more than your thoughts, really. If you feel it in your heart, and if you don't know what that feels like, then you want to spend some time in meditation about feeling like, what does a yes feel like to you and what does a no feel like to you in your body, and spend some time with that, because that is really the key to this whole process, learning what is right for you. And it doesn't matter what it means to other people. So I hope that's been helpful. Does anybody have any questions about that? I know we've covered a lot today, but you guys have been asking great questions, and I appreciate you being part of the conversation. And it's just great to get to interact with you in person and instead of just through Facebook post. So I hope that we get to do more of this, and I'm planning a long or a longer class like this at least once a month, and I'm still going to do lives with shorter information. I'm still trying to structure out how I want the lessons to go, but mostly, if you have a question, post it in the group. And because that's kind of how I've been responding with the lives, is like I've posted the lives that I have so far because somebody asked me a question, or a couple of people asked the same question. So then I'm like, oh, I should probably do a session about that. But my overarching structure is I want to use the book and the cards just as tools to help us get closer to understanding our own intuition. And along the way, I'm going to teach you what I can about the cards and what, the meanings behind them are. And, the more that you work with them, the more that you start to map, the meaning. When you do a reading and you look at that card, especially if you're doing this every day, when you look at a card and then you look it up in the book, or it occurs to you in a certain way, then that starts to sink in and it starts to have its effect. So really there's just no substitute for you doing a daily reading. Even if you're just pulling one card because you're busy and you don't have time to do 3, then just do 1. Just pull 1 card, write your 1 card on your journal, write your reflections about that 1 card, and just say, what's the card I need to see today? Or what's the one thing that I need to know today? Something like that. And just do a 1 card spread instead of a 3 card spread. I do that myself often. So, and if you want to you've got a couple hours and you want to brave it, do a Celtic cross with 10 cards. and just look them all up. So there's just so much that is opening up for you, and I'm excited for each of you in this process. So that is all I have for today. Does anybody have any final parting words?
Well, thank you, Angela. This was great. I need to run, but that was fun.
You need to run. We're good.
Yeah.
Great. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thanks for being
So much
here.
lovely meeting.
Bye.
See you later, Sandra.
Bye, Sandra.
Bye.
Angela, I have a
Yes.
question.
Uh-huh.
You were you just said, pull the cards, write down what your impression or intuition, your gut instinct as to what the card is telling you. Is that what you should go with? Or I don't mean should, but do you recommend that's what we go with? Or do we, after we put all that down, then go back and consult and put down what the book has to say about it?
Well, so there's two things happening. First and foremost, you're doing a reading for yourself. Second thing that you're doing is you're learning the tarot deck. So totally up to you. And if you have time, go ahead and write what the book says as well, right? Because you're learning what the different meanings are for the cards. So if you're not familiar, and you can think of it as like study time, but that's two different things, really. You want to focus on, first and foremost, what information do I need today to navigate my life in an intuitive way? And that's the purpose of doing the reading. And I want you to be confident in that process and trusting yourself in that process. So for now, that's what I would focus on. And if you have time and you want to look it up and start to take notes about each and every card, then, that more power to you. It's really awesome that you can do that. And that's really the best way to learn, just because, like I said, there's like over 70 cards and they have multiple meanings. They have and I did one post on live about the cards, whether or not they should be reversed. And, that's up to you. I don't typically use reversed cards, and sometimes cards get reversed accidentally anyway because of shuffling or whatever. It happened to me the other day. As a matter of fact, I had turned, when I split the cards, like I pulled them apart, and then when I shuffled them, because of the way I pulled them apart, half of them went in reversed, and I didn't realize it until I pulled a card, and I was like, oh, like obviously I needed to get that card reversed. So but in tarot, the reversed meaning is, in general, it's like the opposite of whatever the upright meaning is. But again, that's going to vary a little bit. So that's why the book comes in handy, or the books, so again, if you want to look in a book, the book that came with it, or any other book, or the internet, because if you're working from the Rider-Waite, then all you have to do is type in, Queen of Swords meaning, and Google will give you lots of pages that talk about the Queen of Swords, for example. So, so even if you don't have, but this, like me, I've got that tiny little leaflet basically that came with the Rider-Waite deck. But even if you have that, you can go and look online and find way more information. So I know I didn't give you a straight answer, is because it's up to you. It's really the answer.
No, you gave me the perfect answer.
Okay.
I was looking at it up close and personal. You took it to a higher perspective and looked down. And yes, we are learning tarot, so we need to have a grasp of the overall emphasis of each card.
Yeah.
And if our intuition, it'll surely play into that as well. So yeah, you gave the perfect answer.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You're very welcome. And like I said, I personally have had that experience of, I know this card really means something else, but in this reading, this is what it means right now in this moment. So yeah,
Right.
that's just, and that just comes from being more confident and trusting yourself and that you have the right answer for you. It doesn't matter what the people around you would say, or if they would disagree, because this is not, politics. this is personal readings.
Right. Thank goodness.
Yeah, exactly. And then also talking about reverse decks, I had mentioned this in the video too, but just to give an example, these cards are obviously not meant to be reversed, because it would be obvious when I'm looking at the back of them if it was reversed, right? But these, you don't know if it's reversed or not. So this one, it's built in to the deck, reversed meanings. This one is not, even though they're both tarot decks. This one, when you look at the wording on it, the pictures on it, the book that came with it, it was meant to have just upright meaning. So if one of these happened to come out as upside down because I did something weird in the process of shuffling my cards, or it happened to pop out and it popped out upside down, to me, for this deck, it would just mean like, hey, pay attention to this, like something's important about this. But I would never intentionally have these upside down. And with these, even though they are reversible, like I said before, I just don't work with reversed cards, because there's over 70 cards in the deck. There is a card in there for whatever I need to hear. Really. So it doesn't have to be, I don't have to have it come out reversed for it to get that meaning. Like there's the appropriate, I just trust that the appropriate card would come out. I don't have to have a card reversed to get the message, if that makes sense.
Right. Like you have to work for the meaning or the understanding when it's upside down. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, but then sometimes you don't, because sometimes it's just really obvious. Like, for example, the death card, which is number 13 in the major arcana. And by the way, death almost never means actually death. It usually means like the ending of something, or the letting go of something. And in the angel cards, it's actually called the release card. Well, if I got the death card upside down, obviously that means like a rebirth, right? Like, because what else could it be? There's no, if it's the opposite of death and letting go, then it's like new things coming to fruition. It would be the opposite. So, you can always take that generalized approach. But, some cards are really specific with weird things. So like the Two of Wands can be like a partnership, like because it has to do with career. So it could mean like a partnership or something like that. But it could also be like, because the 1 through 10 is a path, just like the whole major arcana is a path. The 1 through 10 is a path within each of the suits. So for the, I want to see, where is that little book? I know I have that little book here somewhere. Well, maybe not. Oh my God, I showed it to you guys. Where is it? That's funny. Like, it's not in my stack of books. It's not.
Look on the floor. Look on the floor.
I found it. I found it. It was under. I have these 2 extra cards that were in the deck, like that are from the designer or whatever. They're like we also sell these other cards, but it was underneath those. So in this tiny little book, which has hardly any information in it at all, the Two of Wands would be Two of Wands. It says, a tall man looks from the battlemented roof over sea and shore. He holds a globe in his right hand and a staff in his left, tests on the battlement. Another is fixed in a ring. The rose and cross and lily should also be noticed on the left side. Divinatory meaning, between the alternative readings, there is no marriage possible. On the other hand, riches, fortune, magnificence. And on the other, physical suffering, disease, chagrin, sadness, mortification. The design gives us one suggestion. Here is a Lord overlooking his dominion and alternatively contemplating a globe. It looks like the malady, the mortification, the sadness of Alexander amidst the grandeur of this world's wealth. I'm sorry, but that just that doesn't hardly make any sense to me.
That was a bunch of what?
Right. Right. And then it says, for reversed, it says surprise, wonder, enchantment, emotion, trouble, and fear.
Didn't leave anything out.
Right. So, I mean, just like, what? But the Two of Wands Two of Wands in here, which would be Two of Gabriel, says, you're making great progress. If you're experiencing a pause in the action, then it's time to reassert yourself and get things moving again. Be bold and ambitious. You may have a choice to make. Don't let indecision keep you from going forward. The right choice won't come from your mind, so follow your heart. Important relationships are possible right now. Partner with people who share your outlook and passion. And it also says this, additional meanings of this card: long-term vision, business partnerships, showing great courage, gay friends, or relationships. See the difference between these two books for the same card?
Wow.
This is why it's so important to follow your intuition, because the book that you have might not even come close to addressing the thing that came up in the card that meant something to you, right? So this is, again, just once again proves my point that it's important that you find the deck that resonates with you, that you like working with, that, the book that resonates with you, the book that you like working with. All that's really important, because it all comes back to, how do you get the message from your higher self in the best way possible? That's the only thing, really. And even that's the same, even if you're doing that reading for somebody else, because somebody else is trusting you to listen for them because they're not willing to trust in themselves. So that's why I love sharing this with people, because people come to me for a reading and I'm like, but you could do a reading for yourself. And I will say this though, now that I've said that, I also get readings from other people, and here's why. Because just like I said before, I feel like, sometimes I might be picking the cards that I want to pick. Sometimes our ego does not want to let us look at something that's painful or something that's challenging. So sometimes we need that outside influence to say, this is what I see, before we'll be like, yeah, you're right. Right? Like, I didn't want to think that was true, but yeah, I guess it is true. So I hope that was helpful. I just wanted to give you that example of why to answer your previous question, Darby, it's important that you trust yourself first before you put too much stock in what the book says, because the books could be completely different for the same card.
Well, thank you for tonight.
You're so welcome.
I look forward to the next one.
Awesome. Awesome. And I got that Tuesday night doesn't work for you. And that's been the one that the most people said that they could make. So I don't know what the answer is. If you want to suggest another time in that same post, or make another post just to say like, could we do that same time frame on Thursday nights? Because that wasn't an option, or something along those lines. But that's the main reason why I want to record, so that even if somebody can't sit in, they're not going to miss out on the teaching and stuff. So I'm fingers crossed that our recording worked well tonight. So
Angela, on my end, I have a red light that it is recording, and across the bottom of the page, I do have a button that's lit up in green that says share. So that's probably how. So you are recording. Good job. And I'm guessing that you would hit that. I don't know.
The share screen is to, like, when I have slides, that I can show you the slides on my computer.
Oh, shoot. I thought that, because all it says on my button is share. And I've never clicked on it before. So I wasn't, okay.
Yep.
That makes sense.
That's why. So if you had something on your computer you wanted to share with everybody, then you would click that. So like if we were looking at documents together or something along those lines, then you could show us, here's what it looks like on my screen. Or you want to go to a web page and say, here's what's on the web page that I'm looking at. So everybody can look at the same thing.
Yeah. And I'm also on my phone. I know when I'm at work and we are in a Zoom meeting, it does say, share screen. So it's abbreviated here.
Yeah.
I would jump the gun there.
Well, thanks so much for being on with us today, Darby.
Oh, obviously I was looking forward to it.
Awesome. Well, you take care and make sure that you post in the group so everybody gets to share in your insights and stuff, okay?
I will. You have a good night.
Thank you. You as well. Bye.